The winter wind howled through the hospital's main entrance as Nurse Emily Carter held an old man's trembling hand. His name was Henry Wallace, an 82-year-old veteran whose eyes still carried the fire of a soldier, but whose frail body could barely hold itself up. Emily had found him slumped against the cold tiles outside the doors, clutching his chest, mumbling about pain and shortness of breath. She didn't wait for paperwork. Didn't wait for clearance. She rushed him inside, shouting for a stretcher, ignoring the glares of the administrator standing near the desk. "Emily, you can't admit him without registration," barked Mr. Davison, the hospital's chief administrator, known for his obsession with protocol over compassion. But Emily didn't care. "He's having a heart attack," she shouted back, pressing oxygen to Henry's face. "If I wait for your forms, he'll die." For 10 frantic minutes, Emily and the ER team worked against time. The monitor beeped wildly, then stabilized. Henry's breathing steadied. He looked up at Emily with tired, grateful eyes. "Thank you, miss," he whispered weakly. "You saved me. I didn't think anyone still cared." Emily smiled through tears. "You served your country. It's the least I could do." But her relief didn't last long. By morning, a notice awaited her in the nurse's lounge. Nurse Emily Carter, suspended for breach of admission protocol. Her hands trembled as she read it. "Suspended. For saving a life," she muttered. The staff looked away in silence. Everyone knew Davison ran the hospital like a machine, cold, mechanical, unbending. Within an hour, Emily was escorted out of the building. Outside, the wind cut across her face, and her tears felt colder than the snow beginning to fall. She sat on the bench outside the hospital, staring blankly at the parking lot, replaying everything in her head. "Did I really do something wrong?" she whispered. "All I did was care." Inside the ICU, Henry Wallace awoke and noticed her absence. "Where's that nurse?" he asked softly. "The one who helped me." The other nurse hesitated. "She's been suspended, Mr. Wallace, for not following hospital rules." Henry's old eyes hardened. "Suspended? For saving my life." He pushed himself upright, ignoring the pain stabbing through his chest. "Can I borrow a phone?" he asked. "I need to make a call." No one knew who he called. 12 minutes later, the sound of military SUVs roared into the hospital's front entrance. The glass doors slid open, and in walked a towering man in a full uniform, adorned with 4 gleaming stars on his shoulders, General Marcus Ellison, commander of the U.S. Northern Defense Command. Every head turned. Davison nearly dropped his coffee. "Where is she?" The general's deep voice echoed through the hall. Where is who, sir?" Davison stammered. "Nurse Emily Carter." Emily, still sitting outside, looked up as 2 officers approached her. "Ma'am, General Ellison would like to speak with you." She blinked in disbelief. "Me?" When she entered the lobby, the general stood beside Henry Wallace, who was now in a wheelchair, smiling proudly. "This is her," Henry said, pointing. "This young lady saved my life when your hospital refused to act." General Ellison turned to her, eyes sharp yet kind. "Nurse Carter, I am General Ellison. Mr. Wallace here is one of our nation's most decorated war heroes, Medal of Honor, 2 tours in Vietnam. You saved more than just a man today. You saved a soldier, a brother." Emily's voice shook. "I was just doing my duty, sir." The general nodded. "And yet, this hospital punished you for it." He turned to Davison, his voice now thunderous. "Is that true?" Davison tried to collect himself. "General, we have procedures, admission. Policies. Procedures." The general interrupted sharply. "You suspended a nurse for choosing life over paperwork. For showing the kind of courage and humanity this country desperately needs." The lobby fell silent. Even the security guards stood frozen. The general stepped closer to Davison. "I suggest you reverse that suspension immediately, or this hospital will have a very public meeting with the Department of Veterans Affairs and the press." Davison's face turned pale. "Why yes, sir. Of course. She's reinstated immediately." The general turned to Emily. "Nurse Carter, I'd like to personally thank you on behalf of the United States Armed Forces." He saluted her. The entire lobby followed. Doctors, nurses, janitors, every single one of them stood tall, their right hands raised in silent respect. Emily stood speechless, tears filling her eyes. Henry looked up at her and whispered, "Told you people still care." The moment was electric, humbling, sacred. Later that evening, the story spread across local news. Nurse suspended for saving veteran, reinstated after four-star general's intervention. Messages flooded the hospital. Veterans organizations sent letters of gratitude. Strangers dropped by just to shake Emily's hand. But for Emily, it wasn't about fame. That night, as she walked back into the ICU to check on Henry, she said softly, "I didn't save you, Mr. Wallace. You reminded me why I became a nurse in the first place." Henry smiled weakly. "You don't wear a uniform, Emily, but you serve just the same." She squeezed his hand, feeling the weight of his words. From that day forward, the hospital quietly changed its policy. Emergency cases could be treated first, paperwork second. It became unofficially known as the Carter Rule. And though Emily never sought recognition, she carried with her a single note that Henry had written before being discharged a week later. It said,